welcome to Book Club with me, Namgyong. And if you're watching this thing right now, it means that you've decided to read Animal Farm. And I think it's a wonderful book, personally. And this is how the format of the entire lesson is going to go. I'm going to give you a quick introduction today. You're going to listen to it. After you listen to this section, you're going to read the book. I would suggest perhaps like 2 chapters at a time. For every analysis section that I do for the chapters, I also have questions. So what you're going to do is right after you listen to, let's say, chapters 1 and 2 explanation, the analysis part, you can just click on the next set, which is the comprehension questions, and you can follow along. So in that way, you will get a really complete, extensive explanation and also some practice as to the important parts of the chapter. I personally love this book because most of my students really like the book. It's short, it's interesting, it's unique, and we don't get to read a lot of these fables that are classics, but I think George Orwell did a wonderful job at presenting really critical ideas for us. So why don't we begin, shall we? Okay, so Animal Farm. What do you know about Animal Farm? I know a lot of you guys have heard about it, and I think it's absolutely appropriate for, you know, all of the levels, you know, junior high, high school, and definitely it'll be worthwhile. Okay, so let me help you out. Here we go. So the introduction, we are going to first start off with the type of book. It's an allegorical novella. So it's not actually a novel, meaning it's short. Yay. Okay, so I'm sure all of you guys like short books. It's a lot of fun to read, and yet there's a lot of information you can get out of it, especially in terms of the parallels it has with the Russian Revolution. Okay, so moving on. Animals attempt to create a revolutionary utopia. Well, for other books like Fahrenheit 451, I give you a general synopsis of the book, but in this case, what I'm going to do is actually give you just the basic mainframe, because obviously, as we learn about the Russian history, we will kind of be able to see what will happen with the story, and I don't want to ruin every little detail, so here it is. So what we're going to find is that the book is basically about the animals' attempt to create a revolutionary utopia, perfect society, right? And this perfect society, well, I don't know, perhaps the lifestyle that they have been previously living as farm animals was not something they liked, right? So basically, the conclusion of the book, in a nutshell, is that it reverts a more evil system than the one it replaced. So obviously, not the happiest of endings, but we will get to see that satirical environment or tone that the author produces for us. Okay? So, some things I want to mention is this book has been actually written during Orwell's lifetime, you know, in the 1940s. And what we see is that there are a lot of similarities, basically satirizing the historical elements of the Russian Revolution, which means that if you actually know a lot about these very important, I'm sure all of your history teachers will mention it at some point in your academic career, right? If you know these, it'll definitely be helpful. If you don't, it's still a really fun book to learn. So here we go. But research topics, I put them up. Before you read the book, if you actually get to find out some information about totalitarianism or other things like socialism or communism or democracy, the different types of government and how they're effective at this current, you know, time period, I think you'll be able to kind of understand the gist and the overall, I don't know, the feeling of the book itself. Other things that you might want to take a look at here are, here we go. my clickers are not working too well today. Here we go. People, important people like Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin. So, major players during the Communist Revolution, during the Russian Revolution period, and I'm sure you've heard of them once or twice, somewhere along the lines. Probably in history or economics, but these people are going to be shown with the use of symbolism in the book through animals and other things, okay? Other things we want to mention are, let me see, the Russian Revolution of 1917. Yeah, that's the main frame. All of the story itself is based on the Russian Revolution and the results of that particular historic movement. And finally, the Stalinist purges of 1930s. It's actually quite depressing and very devastating, but we learn a lot from history, as we say. And so I hope that this book will definitely be more enjoyable for you as we kind of get to learn not only the book, but also history. Okay, so let's continue on. Author information. So we have some important, author information to make sure that you are following along with the mindset of the author as he was or she was writing it. In this case, it's a he, right? Name of this author was George Orwell, or is George Orwell. And his actual name, real name, was Eric Blair. Now, Eric Blair was a British political novelist and essayist. So he was British, but he did a lot of stuff, including being born in India in 1903 and going through a lot of these things. As a young child, he was very much interested in writing. He put it off for a while, participated in war, taught, all of these things, and then, actually fulfilled his dream. Okay. So he was actually educated in a very, very wonderful school. Okay. Eton School in London. It's an elite school. It's like the top private school programs. Other information about George Orwell, as we know him, the name we know him by, served in the Imperial Police in Burma in the 1920s, okay? He stayed in Paris for like 2 years, and then he went back to England and had a series of jobs. He fought in the Spanish Civil War during these years, and obviously he is the type of guy who fights for the things that he believes in.